Welcome back. It is week number 14 with the Virtues Museletter. I am your host, Barbara McKenzie, and I am welcoming people from all around the world, which is still so amazing to me. So, wherever you're tuning in from, welcome and thank you for being here. According to the analytics in the Spotify for Podcasters platform, we are looking at 18 countries, and over at the Substack analytics, the Virtues Museletter is read across 4 United States and 5 countries. That's really exciting to me. I'm here in Canada. And the one thing I want to preface this episode with is how difficult it is to assert myself to do this week because of everything that's going on in the world that's so awful. So I just want to acknowledge pain and suffering, and just because I'm not addressing world issues doesn't mean I'm not utilizing these virtues in order to support myself in the way I manage my emotions. So let's get deeper into that. In reflecting on the virtue of assertiveness this week, what showed up for you? I'm curious. I set a poll up at the Spotify. Currently, in this day and age, there is a lot of disruption, a lot of communication breakdowns, a lot of unveiling and realizations. People's blinders are dissolving, and we are beginning to see the ugly truth of a lot of things that have been, unavailable for most people's awareness. I don't know how else to say it. And not to sound pompous, I'm one of those kids. When I was really little, I could see all this stuff. I could see it. I knew the toxicity of the world. I understood the adult relationships were involved lying and cheating and one-upping and being underhanded, and that there was trust issues. I remember my grandfather talking about gentleman's honor and how nobody does business with a handshake anymore. And he just used to shake his head about that, how it was all changing, and contracts and lawsuits and all of the big complexities that really compromise our assertiveness, in my opinion. If I am worried about litigation, how assertive am I going to be? And when we police everything down to the, minutest detail, it's that kind of micromanagement that we start to lose our own sense of reality. And we see now what narcissism is and what gaslighting is, and we are starting to see the harmful effects that has on physiology, and we are beginning to correlate that to health outcomes and how certain traumas can manifest into certain diseases, and how silence and assertiveness are on a spectrum that are entangled with one another. There are varying degrees, and depending on how we walk in life, and that's, I opened by saying, I walked alone for a lot of my life, and yes, I was in crowds. Yes, I had a great family. There were things that happened in my life that caused me to disassociate in some ways and feel alone, and then I managed to And this is the assertiveness of my soul. Last episode I talked about how do I assert myself, and then I tasked myself to overrule my inner procrastinator. And so that's how I assert myself, and that's how I stand up for me. That's how I empower my soul to override my ego's grip on this control that it feels it needs to have in the world. And I do that through my art, and I do it through my dreams and my prayers and my meditations. And I asked the question last week, how can I possibly trust myself when I've been lying, denying myself in so many ways? And that is the answer. I just have to task my soul to override my ego's desire and figure out, which I have, but how to get out of the way in order to let that happen. So that's a bit about me and last week. So let's get into the virtues pick. Just before I move on, speaking of art, I am creating this bathtub that has a person in it that is now a mermaid, and she is in the water soaking the grunge that has collected on her body. So she's soaking in the water, and instead of the water turning grungy, the water, this is my vision, let's hope I can pull it off. The water will be full of sparkles to represent the beauty that is within us, in spite of the outer shell and what is, what we have endured. All right. Let's get on with our virtues pick. I am shuffling my deck of 100 Virtues reflection cards from the Virtues Project. And this week, we are working with the virtue of endurance. Endurance is our ability to withstand adversity and hardship. We practice perseverance and patience when obstacles arise, open to the lessons they bring. We don't give up or feel hopeless about ourselves. We hold on. Endurance hones our character and seasons our souls. Weathering the inevitable changes in our relationships deepens trust and loyalty. It makes love abiding and strong. The early navigators who plotted their course with nothing but the stars became strong, confident sailors. When trouble comes, endurance gives us the strength to stay the course. The back of the card has a quote by William Barclay that says, "Endurance is not just the ability to endure a hard thing, but to turn it into glory." The practice of endurance. I find the strength to live through adversity. I seek the lessons in hardships. I do not let troubles keep me down. I accept the challenges love requires. I have lasting relationships. I gain confidence by not giving up. I am thankful for the gift of endurance. It fortifies my will. Well, let me just begin with the image, which is a bush in a desert that looks so drastically thirsty. It makes me parched. When I look at this card, I'm struck by the bridge between assertiveness and endurance. I'm thinking about what it takes to stay the course. I have fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis, and which means for those who don't understand these physical ailments, there's a roaming inflammation, and I never know where it's going to strike or when. So I think it was on Saturday I started feeling my right knee starting to give me some trouble, and then by Sunday I could hardly move my body because everything seems to rely on a muscle that's connected to another muscle, and the elbow joint's connected to the knee joint, believe it or not. If I move my body, it all seemed to strain. And then by Tuesday, I was feeling better, and by Wednesday, it was gone. So endurance, in my case this week, requires a lot of energy. When you're in that kind of pain, it is exhausting. And there's a lot of grief that comes with it, a lot of sadness, because mobility is lost, and we humans were designed to move. And so, it gets into internal chemistry and emotions and feelings of neglect and sadness, and how did I get myself in this place in the first place? And there's this whole negative spiral that can happen if you're not careful. And so endurance reminds me this week about staying the course and about being able to have my foot in both worlds, balancing each side. And this too speaks to me about communicating and being open to the obstacles, seeking the lessons in the hardships, not letting issues knock me off course, and accepting the challenges that love requires of me. I'm grateful to consider my journal questions this week are going to be: what does endurance look like going forward? How does endurance help me to hone my relationship with my soul? And what do I need to support and help sustain endurance to bring me ongoing strength? If you consider each virtue as a spark within us, endurance is one of the fibers in the fiber optics of our soul. I believe each of these virtues is a spirit plugged into the divine and plugged into our earthly body. Thank you for being here. May the virtue of endurance help to carry you through whatever storms are present in your life. I hope you have a wonder-filled week.